Once upon a time, there lived a lot of people on a small island. The island was about as big as Royal City, all around. So it wasn't really big, but there were lots and lots of people on this island. And they had lived there for hundreds and hundreds of years. I mean, they weren't really hundreds of years old, but they'd been living there and they'd been having families, and their families had families, and their kids had babies, and they grew up and had babies, and there were lots of generations of families that had lived on that island for a very long time. The weather was always nice, and the water was always blue and calm, and people would go fishing and bring them back, and they had rice fields, and they had all kinds of animals, and so they were very, very happy. But one day there was a terrible, terrible storm, like a storm that they had not seen in 1,000 years, and the island broke in two. Now there was a family on this island, and their house was on the middle of the island, and the house got broken into two. And on one side of the house was the boy, and on the other side of the house was the girl, his sister. And when the storm had finished, the mummy and daddy looked outside, and the house had gone, and this side of the house was all the way along that side of the sea, and the other side of the house was all the way on the other side of the sea. And they didn't know what to do. And just as they were cleaning up and wondering what to do, another storm hit, and this time the island really did blow into two pieces, and Daddy was on one side and Mummy was on the other side, and they went the other way. So it's like 4 pieces of house and island going in 4 different ways: north, south, east and west. And that was the end of the island. But you know what? Even though that's a bit of a sad story, you'll never guess what happened. Because on one side of the house, it went to one country, and the people there took care of the little girl and raised her up. And the other side of the house, where the boy was, went to another country, and they took care of him and raised him up till he was older. And the same thing happened with the mom, and the same thing happened with the dad. Now the boy and the girl were really smart, and they went to school and they learned the language of that country, and they were the top in the class, and then they went to high school and they were the top in the high school, and then they went to university and they were the top of the university, and they could of course speak English. And the girl was the same, and the daddy, although he didn't go to school, he grew up a bit more, he got older and grey, and he became a very famous teacher in that place. And the mummy in the other place, she grew up and became a very famous doctor. And then one day, something very special happened. There was a big meeting of great teachers on a presentation, like the daddy watches on the YouTube. And there was the best doctor in the world, and the best teacher in the world, and the best scientist in the world, and the best artist in the world, as well as lots of other best people in the world, all meeting in one place to solve the world's problems, like global warming and too much plastic and not enough oil and all that kind of stuff. And who do you think was sitting on the stage waiting to speak? That's right, they didn't know, but the girl was the famous scientist, and the boy was the famous artist, and Daddy was the famous teacher, and Mummy was the famous doctor, all getting ready to speak. And they'd all come off the aeroplane from different countries, and they were all speaking English, and they all started their story on the stage with the day and the night the storm had hit. And the other 3 were saying, "Oh, that's what happened to me." And then suddenly they all stood up and announced. And it was the family had been reunited on the stage in front of all the world, and they were the best 4 people. Well, the crowd cheered, the people cried, tears of happiness. It was unbelievable. And then they sat down as a family and they solved the world's problems with all the other scientists and researchers and engineers and doctors and everybody like that. And that became the family who saved the earth, who solved the problems. And so from a tiny little island where everything was great, a family got separated and did stuff great by themselves and came back and joined together as a team and solved the biggest problems in the world so that everybody else could live together on this earth, which is really like an island in space. Well, I hope you girls also try your best, become the best you can be, and help us all live better on this island in space. I love you so much. Good night. The end.